basket here if that's too much to navigate. Thank you. Let me know. Just raise your hand. Around. Perfect. Thanks, ladies. Waste basket. Pass them forward. Yeah, go. Anybody else? Thank you. I actually do make some dressings. I use a pasta, whether that's a black bean pasta, the chickpea pasta, or regular wheat pasta, whole wheat. And I put canned tomatoes in there and tomato sauce. Is that okay? Here we go. Right here. Is that okay? Here we go. Right here. Right next to Marilyn. Okay. Thank you. Now, do you want me to just put your name on that? Your name? Upset, and of course we know, right, in Asia and those parts, and then of course there's the war that has just kind of been initiated. A lot going on in our world, would you agree? Regardless of your belief system, I think we can all agree, right? Things aren't like they were. Just very beyond that. So you're reading Matthew 20, very beyond that. So you're reading Matthew 24.
It was, I guess, sick, but then they travel to Europe, and it's like, oh.
Okay, I just wanted to. Yeah, no, I know. Did I put? Does he have it there slapped, Murray, or not? Or tamari?
But without the wheat. So tamari is gluten-free. It's fermented soybeans and rice and water, and it's a paste, salt. That you can use that as well as a paste, so it's a little harder to, depending on your recipe, you know, you can stir it in and use it. But
How about amino acid?
yeah, the Bragg's amino acid. It's just, you know, you're going to pay twice as much for bags of amino acid as that. But you see
anybody
how
needs an
quickly-
extra done, you go there and it's $8. Natural eating, when you're doing it very highly processed, vegan stuff. So keep that in mind. And while you guys are seeing stuff, so keep that in mind. And while you guys are sampling that, I want to give a shout out to James Parks in the back. Thanks, James, for your time today. Okay, so you're going to be able to do the red lentil. Okay, so you're going to be able to do the red lentil. It's time for another winner. Christina. Yummy! Yummy! All right. All right. Glad you like that. We want to go back to that recipe real quick. Okay, there's the real lentils. Fritos, right?
to go to the mushroom.
Mushroom pecan.
So what you're reading on there is the mushrooms and pecans, and it's just, you can buy mushroom pieces. I lightly pulse them in the chopper, just enough full. Mushrooms in the chopper, and then we add cumin. Again, a lot of home cooks don't have cumin, and they wonder why their food doesn't taste like a restaurant. Restaurants buy big bottles of cumin. For that powder, I use it'll work very.
Yeah, this is always a hit though. When we, when I was working, I would have staff dinners and that kind of thing. We'd always, it was always like the hit. You know, people really liked it because, you know, of course you have a bunch of meat eaters that are coming to your home, and you know they, to using animal products. Okay. Now let's talk about tamari for a minute. Jamie, you can fill in too here, but let's talk about tamari versus soy sauce, okay? Tamari versus soy sauce. Victor?
compare these labels, you know, they're both the same water, the soybeans. The third ingredient is wheat. There's no wheat in here. Okay.
So the tamari, no wheat. So if you're gluten-free, sensitive, you'll want to choose that over the traditional soy sauce. Okay. But yeah, this is a pretty easy recipe. If you have a little chopper, if you have a food, you know, even a blender.
Would that be 2 people, 3 people?
The recipe that I made?
Yeah.
So we made 3 batches of it, and it had 30.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, because I know, you know, pecans can be expensive, right? And you don't need the whole pecans. That's where you get the pieces, right? And, you know, we don't have a Trader Joe's close by. I do miss that. I know you have one in Henderson here. Up in Wisconsin, you know, we have that more readily available to us. But their nuts I've found are the best price and the most available. Now, as far as these spices, the cumin, you know, those, we go to Indian markets to get those. And again, I've heard, I haven't been there, but that Henderson has a great Indian market. And we get the spices at an Indian market, they're the freshest. They are, even though they're imported, you know the old Walmart paprika? You know, not gonna work, the Walmart cumin. I mean, of course, it's better than nothing. But I would invest, and they come in bags, so actually, they're not expensive. Invest in your good spices, your garam masala, those kinds of. What's that? Yeah, you can freeze them, so if you get a bag. So probably worth a trip if you're gonna do, especially the Indian cooking. It's interesting because in India, the North cooking, very different than the Southern cooking. So different spices, different, I mean, all, you know, vegetarian pretty much. I mean, it's very, very prevalent. Not all, but very easy to find. I remember when I first started traveling, I had more of a natural, plant-based diet. So turmeric, okay, this is another thing you want to really build into your diet. It neutralizes your free radicals, all right, and stimulates your body's own antioxidant system. And again, the brain hormones too. So definitely something you want to focus on. Have around, throw it in, you know, to do your different recipes. Another great thing like garlic, like you would want to do with garlic. Okay. Okay, Costina, thank you. Time for another winner. Get down to the bottom here. Very good. Okay, let's talk about protein for a minute. First of all, I've been, you know, vegan for many years. However, the first part of my life, as I described for you, I didn't know the benefits of plant-based. I wasn't eating plant-based. I was a meat eater. But, you know, then you kind of have to recoup from what you were doing. Victor and I are both cancer survivors. I had breast cancer. I did have a mastectomy. I did declined chemo and radiation, and survived that. Now, I will tell you, when people say cancer, sometimes we want to oversimplify that. That's like 100 different diseases, folks. Okay? And sometimes it really does bother me when we want to oversimplify that and say, okay, don't eat meat, or eat this, or eat that, okay? Once a disease process has started in your body, sometimes it's really hard to have natural remedies, you know, and I'm not advocating for strong chemicals or drugs or anything. Please do not be judgmental. Do not be judgmental of people. Well, if you would just stop eating this. He had colorectal cancer many years ago. And a well-meaning Seventh-day Adventist ran into him at the grocery store. You need to eat more kale. We're like, you know what? We really don't need to hear that with stage 3B colon cancer. Okay? So please, be sensitive. We live in a fallen world, right? Remember I told you my mom outlived my dad? She lived to 84, ate bacon and eggs and coffee most days, all right? So again, it's a package deal. We live in that fallen world. Sometimes the solutions are fallen. They're fallen as well, okay? So please remember that, but get your protein directly from the source. When we're eating this stuff, and if we're eating meat, you're just getting your protein secondhand, okay? And you're also getting the harmful effects of, you know, an animal-based diet and protein. So for 30 years now, my protein levels have always been towards the top, and that's all I can say. This protein thing is overrated. We have to have animals. We have to have yogurt. We have to have milk. You don't. Okay? You really don't. You can get all the protein you need. Now, if you're gonna eat Oreos and Fritos and live on that and big gulps, you're gonna have some problems, okay? Because those are vegan, okay? Unhealthy. So again, remember, New Start, it's a package deal, isn't it? It's our whole lifestyle. How many of you remember that ad campaign, The Other White Meat? Does anybody remember that? Okay. Well, I remember, again, I just become vegetarian, so like 30 years ago. And we went on a cruise, and I was standing there at the dock, and oh my gosh, this big, truck thing, whatever, with a big back end loader pulls up to the dock, and there's a big, cage thing, and they load live pigs into that, to that thing. These are live. They're just dumping them like you dump at the garbage dump.
As long as they're breathing, you're allowed to slaughter them.
Mine is the animal has the last laugh because he died of a lot of these diseases, cardiovascular disease.
And the irony is, they'll put a pig heart. You'll eat all these dead animals, and you give yourself a heart attack, and the only way to clean.
That's because that's just flesh, let's face it, right? So I was in the store, this was a few weeks ago, not here, and, I was looking for some plant-based item, and I got on, he obviously worked at the store, had his little thing on, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm looking for whatever, and he said, oh, yeah, that's in aisle 12, I said, oh, so you work here, what do you do? I'm a butcher. I said, oh, okay. Well, I'm vegan. I said, because I'm sorry. I said, I'm not. And, he kind of laughed a little bit. And he said, well, we'll see how long that lasts. I said, well, it's been 30 years. So just saying, right? And he said, well, don't tell anyone, but my daughter's vegan. Yeah. I'm like, awesome. I'll be praying for her. So anyway, awesome, right? Like I always say, that's meat, dairy, and beer. That's the diet for a lot of people. So when I did this presentation up there, right, gotta be a little careful, but the message is there, and the people are, knowing.
Well, I think if they saw what happens on these dairy farms to the baby veal calves,
Yeah.
I think if they actually saw.
If you don't know what's going on in today's world, whether that's with the food supply or the political scene, whatever, you're choosing for me.
Up in the Alar
Right?
scandal when they started poisoning the trees.
Yep.
Apples.
Absolutely. And like I said, we live in a fallen world, don't we? Even the natural food, we know what tofu is. It's just a seed.
Ever wondered how tofu is made? We visited the oldest family-run tofu shop in New York City to learn how. Fong An goes through 150 pounds of soybeans per day to create the freshest. Pulp comes out of one spout, and soy milk comes out of the other. Even more soy milk is extracted out of the slurry, then it's separated again. All the foam is collected to nothing goes to waste. Then, the soy milk is pumped out to the cooking bag. Fong An uses this soy milk to create a few different products, including tofu. In bulk to restaurants like 11 Madison Park. To make the tofu, a coagulant is added to curd the soy milk, similar to cheese. And once it sets, it's broken up using this massive whisk. Then it's dumped into trays. A little backstory. In 2019, creator Paul Eng reopened and reinvented his family's business, which first opened in 1933. He was a photographer, a musician, and an architect, and he never thought he'd work in the tofu business. So it took some trial and error to find the perfect method. Now, he considers himself the tofu whisperer. Okay, back to the action. Once stacked on trays, the tofu is pressed, and we mean really pressed. So it's ready to be flipped for the big reveal. Now, it's time to slice it up into the blocks of tofu you know and love. Soy milk and tofu pudding. we had to try the pudding. It's made with a coagulant as well and gently set without being broken up.
Tofu
Then
pudding.
it's scooped into thin layers and topped however you want. We went for red beans, taro balls, and grass jelly. Tofu lovers, don't miss the taste of New York Chinatown history.
One more fact about tofu
Yes.
is it does not scream.
Thank you, Tina. You know, Tina, I have to be honest, Tina and I are real good friends on Facebook. She's educated me a lot in the last couple of years. Tina, yeah, I just find like a lot of people don't know, about tofu. So, but I just, to remind myself, calcium sulfate or gypsum and magnesium chloride are the coagulants that are used. So it is plant-based. So with that, health benefits of tofu, again, high level of protein, a complete protein, all the amino acids that your body needs. It has the calcium, manganese, iron, and vitamin A. And tofu and other soy foods are a primary source of isoflavonoids and the regular flavonoids that are plant-based chemicals that obviously have a lot of health benefits. Victor has a funny story because somebody asked him one time, what about the estrogen and all of that? So Victor, what do you say to that one?
So there's one case in all the medical history of gynecomastia, a man developing breast. Now plenty of us develop breast, but I guarantee if you go to Japan or China, you're not going to find Victor's Secret, men's bra shops. They just don't exist. It's not a thing. So don't worry about it. You're not. And what we're talking about the soy too. Wisconsin is big farm country, besides the cattle. There's tons and tons of corn and tons of soybeans being grown. We're all concerned about organic and non-GMO and all that. Just so you know, the vast majority of corn and tofu and soybeans are genetically modified. Also, you need to know though, the vast majority don't eat the animals and you'll be fine. You're not going to be getting GMO soybean or corn for that matter.
Yeah, so tofu is something, really that you want to build into your diet. It's a great plant-based protein. And so Victor makes these sofritos. Now, we get the name from Chipotle. Have you ever been to Chipotle? But they have a sofrito, right?
So sofrito means just lightly fried.
So he makes his own. So you want to go ahead, here's our recipe. You want to talk about
Yeah,
this?
so I'm going to go through the recipe here while they're plating up. So for like breakfast scrambles and all, we use the water package tofu, right? And then there's silken tofu if you're making a dessert like pudding. It comes in a box, in an aseptic box, so it'll last on the shelf, doesn't need to be in the fridge. But for this recipe, we're going to use sometimes it's called extra firm or super firm. The only place I see this here, unfortunately, is Walmart. For whatever reason, this doesn't carry this. But this little bit, when you shred it, I just use the regular box grater like you would for cheese or whatever. It makes this much out of that little thing, okay? I don't know who was here yesterday for the potluck after church. We had the little meat tacos. We fed the whole church with one batch of them. So I do have a lightly oiled pan here. And so a secret of when you're cooking is if you have a little bit of the pan is just lightly oiled. I don't know if you can see that up there. I'm going to put in coriander seed, which is so it's full there.
Soft, it's just like mud.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You never
really
use the salt.
not good.
Well, it's good if you're making like a ranch dressing or like a sour cream,
Well,
the
they're
mushy.
firm or
For this kind of recipe, yeah, you want the firm. She's right, like if you're making a dessert or something like that. Other
A little bit of tamari. So I'm putting all this into the pan first. Some lemon, that's quite a bit spicier. I put together here both ground and whole cumin. and the garlic. And I do that first. Some of these isn't warming up very much. It's called letting the seasonings bloom. You can smell. If you put them in at the end, they won't have near as much flavor as if you do that. Can you smell that?
Yeah.
They're going to come around with some of this in a wrap. I've let that bloom just a little bit. Texture, I just get the flavor stirred in, and then I let it sit for a while, and then it get crispy on the bottom. Then turn that, you'll get the crispier up on top, and let that brown a little bit, because there's still a boatload of water in that. And if you want that meatier texture, you're going to want to. And then, so then when we serve it at home, I would put a pico de gallo on there, just a fresh chopped. Just take a couple onions, some tomatoes. We use cilantro, garlic.
On the list.
Yeah, as a topping. I don't know how many you make a pico de gallo. But again, the thing that you're leaving out if you're trying to make it and wondering, well, it tastes so much better at the restaurant, is they're using lemon or lime juice on it. Make sure you're doing that. You're putting powdered cumin in it. Throw some of that on.
What about your homemade salsa?
Same thing, make sure you're putting in, the tomatoes have acid, but it's not the same as, it's not fried acid that you get with a lemon or lime, or even a apple cider vinegar. So and I've done it with this one, but the problem, so you can take this and drain it. What I do is I wrap it in a towel and put a heavy hook on it. But this won't shred very well, it'll crumble more. But that's still, again, if you're using it as like a taco filling or whatever, that's fine. I just like, we mix it up. We do this for our breakfast scrambles, and we do this for the.
Try to kind of wrap that into the lettuce leaf that, again, is going to add to your nutrition. Kind of wrap it up. We tried toothpicks, but they didn't work too well. So, if you want a pork chop, you can wrap it up great. If not, we get it. You can also put this in the dosas, the red lentil dosas. We do that a lot.
This is delicious.
I just discovered this tofu at Walmart, the big black one.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know
Awesome.
I worked in Hawaii for a few years, and in the grocery stores there, all the grocery stores,
Where?
Safeway in Hawaii,
Oh,
Maui,
Maui.
and regular grocery stores, like say Safeway, and the Kroger bag, it was a 5-pound bag of tofu, and it was just
Wow.
this big
Wow.
lump of tofu, and it was like, it was this texture, it was the firmer texture, it wasn't a whole lot of water, fantastic. No luck here.
And just so you know, while he was working in Maui, I was working in Phoenix in the summer. Right? So I not only lost my cook, I had to suffer through that, right? 115 degrees. Eliminate and cooler. It tends to, because think about it. Why do animals have their fat? To keep them warm. They live outside, right? And boy, in Phoenix, you certainly don't need that. You don't need any more of that than you want to do. Okay, so we got that. It's a great recipe.
Use it as a meat substitute.
Yeah, that's a great meat substitute. You can again, it keeps in the refrigerator. Not forever, because there aren't, right? But certainly for the week, it will keep. So Fritos.
That was one tablespoon of chili powder.
Put a spoon into the whole pot.
And obviously, I'm sure you know if you're a cook, cooking isn't just science, it's a lot of art, isn't it? So, yeah, if you like a certain spice more, you can have more of that or less of that. All of these, again,
I put that even on the,
oh, yeah. Oh, no, we do. Yeah. We use that red lentil dosa now. Victor, it took a little bit to refine that. His nation of origin, right? He really has a South American background. And so a lot of these foods that he discovered as he started, cooking plant-based are from either South America or, Central America. So he's really, every year he kind of does a little, okay, I'm gonna do this country or that country. So, anyway, I homeschooled my kids, and what we would do is study a country and then we would go there. And so, we went to Thailand, to Costa Rica, and we went to all these different countries. And again, the food was very, very interesting to be able to eat. Only when I got back home did we have a problem.
But I mean, like, it's like, whole foods, processed foods, like,
Yeah.
what category would that be in?
Well, because they don't heat it, right? I wouldn't really say, I wouldn't put it with like processed food.
It's more fermented.
Yeah, it's
right?
fermented, but not, heated. It's just, when you heat your food, you're generally losing something. Now, that's not true, obviously, with beans and, those kinds of things. You have to. But for a lot of foods, again, it's in a more natural state. So, yeah, it's processed, but not, through heat, and we're gonna lose a lot of nutrition.
So you're still getting it.
Yeah, but like you said, get organic. That's where you really want to stick with the organic. Because, when we're in Wisconsin, we go by just acres and acres and acres, and I look at the corn and I'm like, oh. Then I realize this is animal.
Right, the whole animal.
The whole animal thing, it was like, oh, yikes, right? So few of it is, sweet corn for human consumption. So, and that corn grows way higher than me back there. It's amazing. I don't know if you saw the news a couple years ago, the child that chased the cat into the cornfield, and it got dark, and they put up drones, and they did a heat, and he was 3 years old.
Wow.
And it's like being in, picture it, right? You got corn that's 7 feet tall, and this child. And so the cops, the county sheriff's office, they had their drones, those guys were able to and get that child in that cornfield. And they go, hey buddy, and he's like, the cat went in here. He was chasing a barnyard cat, right? And they were able to get him. But yeah, the corn is pretty amazing back there. Which brings me to our Wisconsin chili, okay? So a lot of people make Wisconsin chili, and by the way, Victor, I know I was out of town, but you made Wisconsin chili for the chili cook-off here at the church. Yeah, he won, right? Plant-based chili. So Wisconsin
chili is gluten-free. We use gluten-free pasta. But you use when you're using gluten-free, I don't know if any of you cook with that. I find it doesn't hold together very good, so we don't do the recipe quite. But if you were using a normal durum wheat pasta, you would actually put it in raw. Just put it in oil, and it just falls apart. And if you put it in Instant Pot, it just turns into mush. So don't do it that way if you're using it on gluten. But it's a slightly sweeter chili. There is some chili powder in it, but it actually does have some maple syrup in it, and the macaroni, the kind of things that set it apart. But again, use what you have at home. If you have a can of corn, make it your own. A real simple thing, and we make it for days. It's just a good comfort food. You're not from Wisconsin.
I use the vegetable spaghetti.
Oh, right,
Oh, right.
And when I put the whole thing in, and when I took them out, they were.
Chili, and then she made the pasta separately in a pot, and then just 10 minutes ago, she just folded the pasta into it. That'll be coming out to you in just a minute if it hasn't.
go ahead, Christina, another prize.
I don't know if you saw, I just fell, looked at the first time on the bottom. It's the crispy parts. The crispy parts.
Crispy, or if you put like olive oil or,
Okay.
avocado oil.
You could
Spell
do
that
a
name
little
again?
Good.
No problem. Good try, Christina, good try. All right, the face. Congratulations. Oh, thanks so much. Okay.
Right behind you.
No, I forgot to say though, the reason we did the Wisconsin Because it has the sofritos in it too, so we're using sofritos in lieu of a ground beef.
That smells good.
Some Frito corn chips in there?
No Fritos, sorry.
I haven't tried it yet, but I was told that Fritos are their best use is when you're camping to start fires. They have so much oil in them, I guess you can light them up real easy and they'll start your fire.
A little bit more warmer than I think.
Yes, you can adjust your spices. If it's too hot for you, you need some water, a little too much chili powder. But if not, just reduce that to make it milder, okay? All right. If you need the waste basket, another spoon or fork, just raise your hand, we'll come around, okay? All right, it's kind of a tough time to get up and stretch, but we are going to do that in a minute when you're done, okay? Let's talk about the health benefits of exercise. Remember I told you about my mom and dad, right? Dad active, mom more sedentary. Dad died before mom taking care of her, and he had abandoned his, activities outdoors. He and I remember as a teenager, we'd go for a walk every night after dinner, right? All of that went by the wayside. He started to fall, okay? His balance, and, again. So movement is so very, very important, isn't it? When we go to the nursing home here to do the ministry there, Sandy and Stan, and some of the rest of you have been very active here in that ministry for years. So I do chair exercises with them. How many of you are familiar with chair exercises? Okay. Well, if I ever had to sit in one of these, which, for years, of course, I was in meetings, you'd have to look under that table because I was moving. I was moving all the time. My legs were moving. I just kept, right? And as you can build in movement into your day, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. You don't have to, now I do go to the gym 5 days a week. However, right, if I can't for some reason, traveling or whatever, I'll sit there and I will do those chair exercises. So they're very, except I get my skirt cut. I will keep moving no matter what. And when you face difficult times in life, we go back to what our habits are. Did you know that? Think about that. If your habit is chocolate, in a crisis, you are going to find that chocolate, aren't you? If your habit is alcohol, you hit your crisis or your stressor, you're going to. If it's drugs, whatever it is, if it's overeating, we're going to revert to that. And that's why the time to change our life isn't in the middle of a crisis. You're not quitting smoking. Park. How many of you park far away when you go to the grocery store? Very good. A great habit, if you're still mobile, park at the back of the lot. My husband doesn't particularly like that. I'm like, no, park over there. So we're walking a block or two.
You don't get any door dings out there.
Don't get door dings, right? Exactly. So just little things like that. Do, if you're still mobile enough, take the stairs in a building. All those kinds of little things will make a big difference. So I personally believe next to nutrition and exercise are probably about the same as far as our, overall health. So build that in.
What do you do at the gym?
I do various machines. I primarily do the weight bearing because, especially women as we age, that osteoporosis will kick in. And so you want to do weight bearing resistance exercises. So I do the arms, I'll do the leg one, I'll do the, a lot of those kinds of exercises with the arms and the legs. I still do my 50 sit-ups a day, right, and try to do it on the incline board. So there's, but you don't have to go to the gym. There's so much out there now. Just on your phone, Google it, and you will have a routine with other people. Good job, you made the second basket there. So there's a lot of free stuff out there.
Yeah, Journey Church
Yes.
here in town, they host, a chair stretching
Oh,
twice a week for free.
wow.
And, yeah, I went to it before, yeah, and it's really good.
That's awesome.
It teaches you about deep breathing.
Yes.
And,
It's so good that general Christendom is getting onto this, because I remember when I first became vegetarian, you know, we went from Catholic growing up, well, you know, and we went into the evangelical church for a number of years. And you know, you'd go there on Sunday morning, and it'd be like, okay, hey, how's from 25 years prior to that, from that church, was at Eden Valley Health Institute, because he had had significant health problems, he and his wife. And he went to this 30-day program in Colorado. And I'm like, oh, you were with, he goes, yeah. I go, oh, you know, and it was a mega church, so he didn't know me, but I knew his name. And he's like, you know, it's crazy, he said, at my church, we're still out coffee and donuts, and I can take this information. And so it's really exciting when you see people of different groups. Any other program, it's God's program. Got there. We will get up and stretch, and then we're on the home stretch here, okay? We like to move along quickly and keep things going, so just, we're on the home stretch here. Let's talk a little bit about, this isn't Satan, okay? This isn't Satan. Look at that cool down. Did you turn it down?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead, we'll start talking about this.
Okay, so seitan is an age-old food people have been eating. Unfortunately, you won't be able to eat. So it's vital wheat gluten, which you can buy a bag of wheat gluten, which is powdered, or you can buy a 5-pound bag of flour, but just put it in a big bowl, slowly add water until you've made a dough, and then take that and keep washing it out. Eventually you end up with this gummy stuff that's the vital wheat gluten. And so it is, the gluten is the protein part of the wheat. So it's low carb, if that does anything for you. But it is the protein. There's people eat gluten steaks. You can buy ready-made seitan little blocks that are seasoned and ready to fry in the grocery store real often. So I'm going to show you just real quick how it comes together. I'm using the block of tofu. I poured the water out because I want the moisture. And I'm going to put in a cup of flour. So it doesn't have much flavor. In fact, so everything's going to be based on what you put into it or how you cook it. So I use garlic powder and onion powder. I use soy sauce, and this time it is actually soy sauce because there's no point in using tamari gluten-free. Tofu is getting down in there. And so far, you see I haven't added any moisture because the tofu has lots of moisture of its own. You could use, instead of the tofu, you could use a can of garbanzo beans. Drain them first. And again, if you wanted it spicier, you could add so you can see it's kind of a dough. So that's the quick one. Now you need to cook it. So several ways to cook it. What I do, and you're going to get it two ways. You're going to get it steamed and lightly fried to give it crispy, or you can make it. You can put it in a log. I wrap it, make it into a log, wrap it tightly in cheesecloth. Tie the ends tightly, because when it cooks, it blows up. So you want to tie it really tightly, and then I put it in broth and simmer it in the broth for about 30 minutes. And it'll come out, you'll see a piece that almost like, well, it's how tofurkey brand is made. Okay, so it's actually simmered. And again, it doesn't have much flavor, so you want to use the broth to give it. The other method that you can use is making, you just pinch off a ball of it, and I find that it's best, because if you just put it in the skillet, it can still be chewy inside, too doughy inside, and crispy on the outside. So I put my pan with water, a steaming pan, just like the broccoli in the steamer, the little steamer tray, everyone's got one of those.
Bamboo.
And just put those blobs of them, and you'll see they'll you can do them real thin, and they'll puff up double thickness because there's nothing holding them. Then after 30 minutes in that, then I just throw them in a fry pan, or you can at that point you can freeze them, put them in the fridge, and then when you're ready to, you will just lightly fry them to give them a little crispy on the outside.
So this could go through a grinder.
You could, yeah, at this stage you could
I
easily.
mean, after you, then you could go.
Yeah. But so you'll see the two different distinct textures that you have there. Yeah, so the one in the log is.
I would do it in a log, that's what I did for the.
And the other is like a bread.
Steaks are good.
Well, the other
But that's good.
real often, at a lot of advanced potlucks, you'll get it as just, those little things with a lot of gravy on it. Again, because you need the gravy for flavor. Because it's not got a lot of flavor to it, so.
So this little thin slice is the one that's just been steamed.
No, the thin slice is the log.
Oh, that's the log.
One, you call that bologna or the log?
This one,
That's where it was steamed.
it was steamed, and then the log was.
The log is the bologna. Change, you could throw in like Italian seasonings and make like an Italian sausage with it.
When I made my tofurkey at Thanksgiving, I used poultry seasoning, but it was the golden, it was the southwestern.
Oh,
You can use it well on
yeah. So you can take it whatever direction you want. You can make it a spice. You can make it a chorizo. If anyone, some of you know what Mexican spice sausage. We try to do things that you don't need special stores for. This is the one recipe that you kind of do, and doesn't want to go through the work of washing away the carbs and keeping the protein. I'm not that ambitious. Thank you. And then there's the mushroom gravy, which we're not actually, yeah, which I won't actually demo, but we'll talk about because Dan is really good. So the mushroom gravy is just, again, it's a basic gravy that it should be hopefully everybody that cooks knows just basic gravies are, you can add whatever things, we added some Mari in there and soy sauce, just to give it, again, like this, it'll give it that similar umami flavor.
When I've traveled, they'll be like, no fish? Like, no. If it had a face, I don't eat it, that stuff that you guys say, right? But those chicken is neutral, basically. Have you ever just had a slab of, not fried, not anything, chicken? If you, back in the day, I remember that. No, you need something, right? Spices, oil, fried, whatever, to make that taste like anything. Well, tofu is largely, and so is the gluten steaks, largely neutral. So that's why your gravy or whatever you put on that is important, because that is what is going to give you the flavor. Okay? So anyway, yeah, chicken and fish, no, especially overseas. They're gonna think you eat fish. They're gonna think you eat oysters. They're gonna think if you say you're vegetarian. So you have to make it really clear, what those preferences are. Okay, we got another winner. Let's see, we're getting down. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we still have some here. Who we got this time? We do notice that this is a female-dominated audience, and you notice? So, congratulations on that. Our last recipe is going to be the pumpkin spice energy balls. These are easy, they're non-cooked, even I can make them. Pretty easy recipe. You can again adjust your spices according to your taste. Around the holiday time, generally you want to, increase your cinnamon, your nutmeg, your Thanksgiving, Christmas. This makes a great alternative. And during the holidays, like people will kind of indulge and they'll maybe eat too much, they'll eat too many sweets. And it's not that 1 or 2 pounds in December that you gain. It's the 1 or 2 pounds over 20 years. Because what happens is, right, we go, oh yeah, and then January, oh yeah, right? But we never quite lose those 2 pounds. And by the time 20 years goes by, you're 40 pounds heavier. So that's the issue. So, I like sweets like anybody. Again, I was raised in Wisconsin. But I have a hard stop. It's just like, no. It's my hard stop. That's just me. Because I know if I don't have a hard stop, it's going to get out of control. I'm going to be a little gluttonous there if I really like some, whatever. And so you have to discover in your own life what are your hard stops. Alcohol needs to be a hard stop for a lot of people. Sugar needs to be a hard stop. So just discover what that is for you, and that's okay. And you gotta stick. It's a lot easier to stick to the hard stop than the maybe just this time.
What helps to stop the hard stop is fasting for a few days.
Absolutely. Eating in New York City, European influence. So you have to really understand where you're going, what their cultural habits are, but also, what works for you. Some people say, oh, don't drink water an hour or 2 around your food. Some people need to, okay? We have individual bodies, and to have some hard and fast rule for everybody, again, it doesn't work. I know my dad had a much slower constitution, right, than my mother.
So what is the reason they say not to drink water?
Because it dilutes so much of the nutrients. We're all individuals, right? Created in the image of God. We live in a fallen world. We live in a fallen world. So remember that. It's not one size fits all. And the issue you struggle with, maybe your struggle is chocolate. Maybe somebody else, and just because you've mastered one struggle, oh my gosh, they're eating all that chocolate or whatever. Just remember, you haven't mastered this over here. So just, again, be merciful when it comes to all of this. Okay, they're going to be bringing those out. We're going to do another winner here while we are waiting. Here we go. They've got them all? Everybody's got them? All right. Okay, we're all done. Oh, the spike, that's spike. Yeah, you can tell about it.
We don't have, it's not real exciting to watch people stir oats, but it's a good recipe if you have kids or grandkids around though, because they don't need to be precise. I've already put some salt in there, and we're using almond butter, but you can use any nut butter.
These are the.
I'm just showing you I'm just showing you how quick it comes together. And then we use raisins. We have the little vegan chocolate chips. Kids love it.
Right? Put it over
Even
here.
though they're already kind of sweet, but then we add the maple syrup. And literally all you do is mix it all together. And because everything's different, some cans of pumpkin are a little drier than others. This one looks like it's kind of wet, so I would normally add more oats to that just to balance it out. So again, it's not a chemistry lesson. You add it till it's mixed the ball. So instead, but but you can freeze them for a long time.
Is that regular or instant oats? Is it like
These are
old-fashioned
regular, but
oats?
these are okay. You know, the difference between instant oats and regular oats is the instant oats are the bottom of the barrel. They're smaller, and you can buy just regular oats and just post them in your food processor. And, because it's smaller pieces, that's what makes it instant. It's not like instant rice that's parboiled, it's the identical oat, it's just smaller pieces. Yeah, just a few pulses, and you'll see that the oats, instead of being a big flake, then there'll be a smaller flake, and you get more of them. And you know, you can also make oat flour too, if you want to avoid the wheat.
That's easy. Okay, so back to the water. You guys remember we're about 70% water. When I teach the kids, you know, I say, okay, let's go right to about here. That's how much water you are. Okay, yeah, one side, and let's do it to the side. One side, and let's do it to the side, and to the side. Thing to change your taste buds. Change your taste buds. So realize that happens. Okay, another. So realize that happens. Okay, another winner here. As we're going to wrap up, but hold with me for just. Yes. Well, think about it. Your body is what temperature?
70, 90,
It's what? About 97, okay? 7, okay? So when we do cold water, your body has to, room temperature is, some people are so used to ice water. If you can kind of move off of that, it will give your body a lot less of a, of a hit. Rest, obviously we're reading a lot more about rest, aren't we, in the creation Sabbath. Mayo Clinic talks about your sleep needs, right, and how old you are, and yes. God knew what he was doing. He didn't need to sleep or rest. He knew that his creation needed to do that. So remember, the New Start principles, these 8, Rosa? All right. We're gonna do the last couple right after this. I want to just talk for just a quick minute on mental health. So in the 60s and early 70s, ladies, hold on one second, okay? In the 60s and 70s, what were they doing for type 1 diabetics? Drink lots of cow milk, right? And for the neuropathy, take Valium. And then, of course, they were giving the pig insulin. So my sister, you know, I was 16, I was the youngest. She was really suffering with type 1 diabetes. Her neuropathy was so bad in her legs, she just couldn't stand it. And that's why the Valium. Sadly, and even if she took her life when I was 16, and she died on her birthday. And that was the first trauma that I experienced. And I had no idea. Our family, there was a lot of, we try not to talk about it. We try to keep busy. And maybe in your family, your trauma was handled that way as well. And so as we handled trauma, I then got married as a young person in my 20s. Sadly, my husband developed schizophrenia. He died of suicide. We lost our son a couple years ago to leukemia. So I'm saying that just like you have crises in your life, right? I just want you to know that taking care of your mental health is so very critical. And you know what? I mentioned in the beginning, there's seasons of life, right? When you're going through a crisis in a season of life, crises, you've faced crises in your life. And as you reflect back on those, you're here today because God got you through. But not because it was easy. Because God tells us, I will walk through the valley of the shadow of death. It rains on the just and the unjust, doesn't it? And so remember that in your own life. Remember that in those that you work with. And you know, that's not the way it works, is it? So be merciful to yourself for your crises and your seasons of life that you go through, okay? And the fact that you're here, do that. And don't tell you, I try to keep busy. Well, try not to think about it. Because that's how I grew up. And it took me many, many years to recover. So with that, I want you to, again, take care of yourself. You're not alone, all right? There are so many resources out there. You know what my resource was as a 16-year-old? It was the Baba Boone's farm. Now, some of you don't know what that is. And my friends, right, at the beach on Friday night. So now there's a lot more resources out there for young people, for us older ones. So engage with those resources and encourage others to engage with those resources. Because grief died, a woman came up to me for, oh, I heard your son died. Let me tell you about my 92-year-old mother who died.
Oh.
Not a lot of self-awareness there. As tragic and hard as when your 92-year-old mother dies, not the same as your 30-year-old son. So don't be so quick to tell your story when you're listening to somebody else, okay? Because your story is their story. Right? So let's be sensitive.
Jim volunteers for Veterans Court, and the judge in a little bit of trouble, PTSD. So he's a mentor for Veterans Court, and the whole purpose is to prevent suicide.
Yes. Let's give this gentleman a hand. Because when we take that grief, we put it into action, there's a lot of power there, isn't there? All right, very good. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you,
Okay, we're gonna finish up. We got 3 more, and I know my friend here deals with celiac, so here you go, my dear. I was saving that for you, but we got 2 more gifts. Christina, let's go ahead and give those away. On your way out, be sure to get a bottle of soy sauce, okay?
And one of these, and the
Oh, yes.
all your veggies, the Daya cheese.
Just a great publication, so if you're interested, I am the pig.
It is National Pig
Very
Day.
cute. If you need anything afterwards, okay?